So in this video I'm going to further enhance our understanding of the sine rule, and we said that the sine rule is applied, it's a topic in trigonometry which is applied on non-right angle triangles, or basically scalene triangles. And we said that there are two versions of the formula. One is for calculating a side, and one is used when you're calculating an angle. For side, or for calculating a side, it basically states that the side over the sine of the angle that is opposite to that side is equal to any other side over the sine of an angle that is opposite to that side. For an angle, it's the same thing. You just have to flip it upside down and you get sine of an angle over the side that is opposite to it is equal to any other sine of an angle over the side that is opposite to it. And we said that in order to calculate a side, we need to know at least three things. You need to know two angles and one of the opposite sides of that angle. And for an angle, it's the same thing, so it's the same thing, but it's like opposite. It's again opposite. So you need to know two sides and an angle, and that angle must be opposite, an opposite angle to one of the sides. Okay, so let's do this first question over here. So let's label this question 1. We need to find x, okay, and in order to do so, first we'll label this is basically we need to find a side, and because we need to find a side, we use this formula over here. We need to use this one over here, and so we have the opposite angles of all of the, or not all, we can calculate the last one, but we have the opposite angles of this side over here. We have the opposite angles of x centimeters, which is this one over here, and we can easily calculate the opposite angle for 2x centimeters. All you need to do is using the rule of or the theorem of triangles, that all triangles add their interior angles add up to 180. We use that, and therefore adding these two gives us 140, and 180 minus 140 is 40 degrees, and therefore we have the last opposite angle. Now we use this formula and we equate it. So let's we need to use a base, okay, like the ones which you already know and there are no variables. In this case, we know we can use this, so sine of 120, because we already know that we know it and there are no variables included. We know this side, we know this angle, and we can use this as a base for finding another side or angle. Okay, so you need to know this, a very important piece of information. So in order to solve for x, because x is interrelated with, or these two sides are interrelated, we can use any of them and then find x. Okay, so in order to do so, I'll use 2x. So we use 2x over the sine of the angle that is opposite to it, in this case 40 degrees. We equate it to another side and its sine of angle sine, opposite angle sine. That would be 21 over sine of 120 degrees. Now when we cross multiply, we get 2x multiplied by the sine of 120, 20, we equate, and that would be sine of 40 multiplied by 21. Now in order to cancel out both the sine of 120 and 2, we'll basically do it step by step. Okay, so we'll first cancel out sine of 20. In order to do so, we divide both sides by a sine of 120, and when we do so, we get sine of 40 degrees multiplied by 21 all over the sine of 120. Now we'll find out, or we'll basically find what x is equal to in after some one further step. But now we use our calculator just to calculate what the answer is. Okay, so we when we do so, we put a fraction, sine of 40 close brackets multiplied by 21. Then we move to the denominator, sine of 120 degrees, close brackets, and we get that 2x is equal to around to 5 significant figures. We're still in the middle of a calculation, so that would be 15.587 centimeters. So 2 multiplied by x is 15.587. You divide it by 2, both sides by 2, and when you do so, you will get, or now we round it to 3 significant figures. You'll get 7.7, or actually 7.793 when on my calculator, and then and because we're rounding it to 3 significant figures, we have to, and this is the main which will change. So since since this is not greater than 5, 3 is not greater than 5, so this will remain 7.79. so x is equal to 7.79 centimeters, and 2x will be 7.79 times 2, which is 15.58. so this will be equal to 15.58 centimeters. This over here will be equal to 7.79 meters. Quite easy, yeah? Now we'll move on to finding an angle. Okay, so over here we need to find x and y. Okay, so they're two different angles, you guys might, and they're not isosceles. So this angle is different, this side is different, this side is different. Okay, so we need to find an angle, and therefore we will use this formula over here. Okay, now as you can see, the base which we have over here is sine of 96 degrees over 120 over 12 centimeters. Oops, or 12 centimeters, because you know the angle and you know the side, and there are no variables. So we're going to need that. Okay, we have a variable x, and we have the opposite side, and we know the opposite side, and we said we need to know two sides, and we know two sides, 12 centimeters, 7 centimeters, and one opposite angle. And in that case, that opposite angle is 96. So then we're going to relate to find x. So when we do so, we have sine of x over the side opposite to it, which is 7. We equate it to the base which we have, which is this over here, and we get sine of 96 degrees over 12 centimeters. Now when you solve for sine of x, you will get sine of x multiplied by 12 is equal to sine of 96 multiplied by 7. Then you further simplify it by dividing each side by 12, and you get sine of x. We're trying to isolate sine of x in this case, so sine of x is equal to sine of 96 degrees multiplied by 7 all over 12. Now we solve for this, and we put a fraction in our calculator. Sine of 96 degrees multiplied by 7, denominator is 12, and we get that sine of x is equal to 0.5, or we need to round to 5 significant figures, so that will be 58013, or sorry, 14, because you round it. Okay, now in order to find the angle, we need to use inverse of sine. So we're going to use sine, or inverse of sine, of 0.58014, and when you do so, you will realize that you get a greater number. So that will be inverse of sine, the answer, and that will be 35.4, I believe, no, 5 degrees. So this x is equal to 35.5 degrees. We know one angle. Now since we know two angles in the triangle, we can work out the third one by basically, or y will be equal to 180 minus 96 degrees minus 35.5 degrees, which will be equal to minus 96 minus 35.5, which is equal to 48.5. And there you go, you have solved the whole question. You have found out both the variables. So as you can see, these questions on sine rules can be challenging, but knowing the basis, you know everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please do like, share, subscribe and comment.